everybody. Welcome to day one. Breakfast with Bob from the 70.3 World Championships in beautiful Taupo, New Zealand. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by HOKA, Fly Human Fly, Master Spas, SFuels, right fuel, right time, Deboer, Wetsuits, Quintana, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, Tamara Jewett, has been here for a few weeks, getting used to this, getting used to the climate. What do you think so far of being here in Taupo?
It's just such a lovely place to be. I've really enjoyed training here. It's really convenient. I found people really friendly, and it's been a great time.
And you came right from Vegas?
From Dubai.
Oh, from Dubai.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And so this year the focus was T100.
Yeah, I think it's been an interesting season because the T100 is so new.
Yes.
I feel like in hindsight, Suzanne and I in planning the season had a little bit less direction in it than we normally do. And it was a little bit try the T100 as it unfolds and see how that goes. And mixing in some 70.3s that were important to me. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to hopefully have a good race this weekend and then be able to sit down and plan more carefully for next year.
What's hard is when somebody says, hey, here's X amount of dollars to commit. Getting guaranteed dollars is not something that happens in triathlon very often. So it's hard to walk away from something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I really appreciate the financial security this year.
Yep.
And yeah, I think the T100 is sort of building what it is as it unfolds as well. And it was an exciting opportunity to get to be part of the first year of that.
Yes.
So I think that's also just something that we definitely wouldn't have turned down. And it's interesting to try it and reflect. We'll reflect after this on like what we think about that and how to plan for next year.
Yeah. So this year when I look at, you had 4 DNFs. I'm figuring you're dealing with some injuries. Something was going on.
Yeah, luckily no physical injuries.
Okay.
But yeah, like clearly psychologically am I racing something because it's really my first season where I've had any issues like that.
Yeah.
I feel like since I've been in the sport, I've been really consistent.
Right.
And in general, I see myself as a very resilient athlete. You know, like being in the sport for a few years, you definitely have ups and downs in races. And I feel like I've always felt good about dealing with them really productively.
Right.
So it's definitely been a little bit of a shock to have, you know, there've been some like really good races this year and then to have, as you say, 4 DNFs. I think that's something that I have a great team working with me on it. And I think we have ideas about sort of what's been happening and how to address that I feel really good about, but it's going to take a little bit more reflection when we have time, because I think after Miami at Oceanside, I remember in an interview with you kind of feeling like, okay, I have all the answers to this, and then and then it's happened a few more times. So I think I feel really good about the information we've gotten out of that and the direction things are going, but I'm not ready to like declare it fully solved yet.
Is this similar to, because when you were a runner, it was physical. You had physical issues.
Yeah.
Totally different situation now from being a professional runner to being a professional triathlete.
Yeah. I think there's been, I think what my decision to commit to triathlon was a very empowering decision for me, having been really frustrated as a runner.
Yeah.
And I think I had found in the style of racing a lot of things that I just really loved and that sort of really meshed with my values and were emotionally fulfilling for me. And I think just adapting to ways the sport has changed over the last year and different styles of racing I've been doing, I think it's been a little jarring, or it took me out of something that I had really emotionally committed to.
Right.
And I just think it's working through my different feelings about that and trying to look at, you know, like getting back into setting things up for success for me.
What's great about this era for professional triathletes is options.
Yeah.
The amount of options you guys have is something that has never happened before. Where here's somebody giving you guaranteed dollars there, and then Ironman does their pro series, and there's people who are, you know, a couple $100,000 at stake. It's such a cool time to be a pro triathlete. You came in at exactly the right time.
Yeah. And I think even, you know, like obviously like some races in the T100 went well for me. Some things about the series seem like they're not quite working, but I really appreciate the the experience. Like
Right.
even though parts of it have felt like very rough for me, it has been interesting, and I think it's a lot of good information for me. And it is exciting to be able to look at, having had a lot of experiences this year, sitting down, reflecting on those, planning for next year. There are a lot of different directions I feel like we could take things, and that's great, and that is great for the sport.
Do you see yourself staying at this T100 70.3 distance, or do you see yourself eventually moving up to full Ironman?
I'm really, really tempted to try a full next year.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to this year, and the schedule just didn't really allow it,
Yes.
especially still wanting Worlds here for 70.3 to be a big focus at the end of the year. So yeah, it might be that in the first quarter of next year, I'll try something, try a full.
That'd be really fun. I just think your skill set is so well suited for that full distance, because it's, you know, it's a long day, so you can have highs and lows and still come out the other side.
Yeah, and I'm really curious, you know, it's an important distance to a lot of people in the sport. And I think even, you know, like speaking to amateurs, like I really want also more direct knowledge of what it is like to race
Yes.
that distance,
Yeah.
to be able to share that with people and sort of have a more informed opinion on it as well.
Yeah, and this year it would have been focusing on, you know, getting to Nice, which is such a different style. I mean, obviously you're a great climber, you can do all of that, but there's something about Kona. There's something about the draw and the lure of Kona, and the fact that next year we'll be back for the women in Kona could be pretty fun.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's really nice that those two options have existed so far. I think if I had been looking at Nice, I would have had to spend a lot of time practicing my descending.
Exactly.
So
it's a different game.
Kona, I would have to work a lot on heat preparation. So different aspects of those different courses.
Right. But I mean, going over and doing a camp over there is really something that, you know, a lot of people do, and it's not out of line to do that. Where do you spend your off season? Are you up in Canada? Where are you at?
Yeah, mostly at home in Canada. I haven't planned any camps for early in the year yet. I think it's been a lot more travel this year than I've done in the past, and I'm really craving like a few concerted months, feeling a little bit more settled.
Exactly. Well, and the thing about this year, with this race being mid-December, and you started at T100 Miami, which is March. It's a long season. It can really beat you up.
Yeah, it has been. And I think, again, just with our learning, I've always responded really well to travel. So I don't think that Suzanne and I planned a lot around the amount of travel, or felt that we had to do much extra to address it. But what I was finding through the season was that it was kind of adding up. So even if I'm good at long distance travel, doing that each month for a short period of time was just starting to wear on me in a way that we hadn't expected either. So again, it's just like an interesting experience, something that a lot of people deal with in the sport, and we can plan more carefully next time around that.
So when I look at the results, I see the 70.3 Mt Tremblant getting second there as best race of the year. Do you look at it that way?
Yeah, I think probably my two best races are 70.3 Mt Tremblant and then T100 London, where I was sixth. That was a strong performance as well. And Tremblant was just a wonderful experience.
Beautiful place. Such a great location.
Yeah, and kind of like a home race for me. And I had a really strong run effort there, where it took me sort of almost the whole run leg to run down Ellie, and I was able to right at the end, which with sort of a supportive Canadian crowd in the Tremblant Village felt really good.
So for this course, there's over 2,000 feet of climbing, and it seems like a lot of it's early in the bike ride. So from riding this course and being here a few weeks, how challenging is it?
I think kind of medium, maybe.
Okay.
It is right that like the ups and downs are really in the first 20 kilometers. And then I think there's a lot of sort of like false flats for the rest of it, but it seems relatively straightforward. The descents, I just don't get a lot of chance to practice like longer descents. So nothing here is particularly technical, but I've been practicing that a little bit. It's a good opportunity to. And I love the one loop that they've set up on sort of different roads. I guess the regular course here kind of goes out and back on the same road. Yeah. So I think it'll be like quite beautiful, like quite a motivating course to be out on.
It'll look great on television for sure. When you're making that move from running to triathlon, what was the event, the triathlon, what made you realize, okay, this is the right move? This is my future?
It was sort of a series of things. My first season in triathlon was sort of age group season, mostly at home. And I really enjoyed the variety of the 3 different sports and the training. I think I had one training session where I was out on my TT bike, like just getting more comfortable on it and feeling like, you know what, this is pretty epic, like zooming along on this TT bike. I felt that was definitely one of the moments where I felt, you know what, I don't think I'm going to go back to just running.
Right.
And then I really love the atmosphere at triathlons where there are a lot of people all participating in the same thing, and just like the sort of in-person human energy of that. In track, sometimes at a big meet you could get a bigger crowd in a stadium where there are more people on the track, but there are a lot of high-level track meets that are just a small number of athletes on the track and very few people there. And the atmosphere isn't the same. I really appreciated the energy of the atmosphere in triathlon.
You know, what's fascinating to me is with the addition of age groupers, and I've heard this from Chelsea Sodero before as well, there's you're running and there's people you compete against and there's fans, right? They're not necessarily athletes. And then when you come to a place like this and there's 6,000 people who love this as much as you do, and they're here, they're flying halfway around the world, they're paying their own way to come here. There's a different camaraderie that goes along with this sport, I think, than any others.
Yeah, and I think the value of having fans who also participate in the sport and understand it a bit, like it's just, it does create a different kind of camaraderie, and it's a really lovely environment to be in. And I think even here, even people who are involved in parts of triathlon, like I've coordinated with the Taupo Masters swimmers for some lake swims here.
Yes.
And, we kind of go off and I'll do my own workout and then we have coffee after, but they've just been so welcoming. So many of them are volunteering for the event this weekend if they're not competing in it. And so even just arriving in the town early and meeting up with people who are in some ways involved with the event has been like such a welcoming and wonderful way to be here.
I mean, you think about when I look at the different races that you did, I mean, Dubai, Miami, Alcatraz, London, you did do a ton of travel.
Yeah.
How do you adapt to it when do you have a plan? Do you try to stay in the same time zone? How do you, when you fly into a place like here, well, of course here you can be for a couple weeks. When you come into a place like Dubai, where the huge time zone difference, how do you adapt?
Yeah, I usually try to just not think of other time zones. Like I just try to do everything on the pattern of the place that I am as soon as I get there. And I always find doing some exercise when I first arrive can really help too. The change from Toronto to Dubai, falling asleep can be a big problem. And that's where like doing some exercise to sort of like relax and tire yourself out a little bit, I think can help at the front end of that process.
That is awesome. And goals for this race?
I feel it's been a while since I've been in a race with such a big pro field. And there are so many strong women here. So I think, I think my best result so far at a 70.3 Worlds was 9th in 2022. And I would love to improve upon that, but anything in the top 10, I'd be happy with. And other than that, I think just being really process oriented, having a positive race experience where I like finish the race strong and really show the level of fitness that I have this year that I haven't been able to show in that many races this season, I would be really happy with.
I mean, when you look at it and you have races that you didn't get to finish, and it wasn't because you're dealing with injury, you want to finish your season strong and be able to go into the off season going, okay, I know what's going on, I'm working on that, but next year is going to be awesome.
Yes. Yeah. No, and I feel really good about that. And the fitness, luckily for me to keep working with it, like the fitness is really there. And in many ways, I'm so much stronger than I've ever been physically. So, it's just needing that to show up, but it's there, ready to.
It's there. And that's the frustrating part, because it's there.
Yeah, but it would be more frustrating if it wasn't there. So I have a lot to work with, and I feel, I feel good about what we've learned this year, and I feel good about the direction things are going.
Love it. Best of luck this weekend. You're going to have a great race.
Great. Thanks so much.
Tamara, always a pleasure to chat with you. Again, day one, Breakfast with Bob. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We've got a full slate of athletes. This is going to be a lot of fun. We are in beautiful Taupo, New Zealand. Hold on. We will be right back.